Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm so glad to be here again. Good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. I would like to welcome you to our number 5 Facebook Live. And today we'll be talking about herbs in dogs, detox, liver disease, longevity. And we'll just kind of tie lightly into the last Facebook Live that I had a week ago. And I talked about how to reduce drugs in medicine, prescription drugs in medicine, and why. I talked about the fact that drugs, in a way, are foreign chemicals that the body has to deal with on top of the disease, and they're always or should be the last resort. Now, before we start, I also would like to welcome Leah, one of our team members who's been a regular now. Hi, Leah.
Hi, Peter.
And she's in Calgary. I'm in Vancouver, back in Vancouver. That's why I'm dressed a little warmer. And Pax is walking somewhere out in the forest. He's lucky. But I'm lucky too, because I had a lot of fun preparing this webinar for today. And I also would like to welcome Michelle, who's behind the scenes watching with you guys. And she's going to be posting links and answers to your questions, and will be helpful as always. Michelle is amazing when it comes to helping us to be informed and organized. So, as I said last time, I talked about drugs, and that they're, in a way, foreign substances that are toxic, and ideally, we should not be using them. Now, the problem is that when we have toxic substances in the body, they can create a real havoc with the biochemistry of the body. And there's about 37,000 billion, 37,000 with 21 zeros. I know I say it every single webinar, of chemical reactions happening in the body every second. And if there's something missing or something added to the body, it obviously interferes and creates a havoc with those chemical reactions. I will be sharing screen today just because I wanted to have a little bit of learning in pictures as well. So I'm just going to do that now. And Leah, let me know if the screen is sharing.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is the number of chemical reactions happening in the body every second. It is staggering. It is also beautiful, because it tells you how amazing the universe is when it comes to its automation. I'm sure that you're not really overseeing the 37,000 billion chemical reactions in your dog's body every second, because you would go crazy and I would go crazy, and it would be really, really, really fast. But the pollution in the environment is real, and toxins are real. And I'm not going to draw a little doom and gloom picture or scenario, because I am actually an optimist, and I quite often see glass half full than empty. Recently, I've been listening to an amazing audiobook, interesting audiobook. It's not written that great, but what it says is that our population growth is going to slow down, and our pollution is going to slow down. And even though we are actually dealing with the consequences of what we've been doing for the last 50 or 100 years, it is not only doom and gloom, and that nature and the universe has an ability to kind of slow things down. If a species overpopulates, it naturally actually stops reproducing as much, and it doesn't necessarily need to lead to pandemic or something like that. It's just a natural flow of events. Also, we've been seeing these symptoms in the Western world, in Western countries, where they have actually a really hard time to maintain their population. So pollution is real, and we need to really do all we can to reduce it. But while it is there, we also have to do all we can to reduce the influence of toxins on our body and on our dogs. Because the more toxic the environment is, the more likely we are to face problems, disease, DNA replication errors, and premature aging. I was thinking, how can I actually display toxins today? Because every time I talk about toxins, I try to find a different perspective. And I found this picture, and I think that it is actually a good equivalent of what toxins do. Toxins basically are a disturbing element. They mud the picture. They make the body struggle with deciphering what is right and what is wrong and get overwhelmed. The same way your visual senses get overwhelmed when you look at this graffiti. It'd be very difficult for me to shut the screen off now and you remembering what is on it. But if I give you a nice, beautiful picture of, let's say, broccoli, you will actually remember the broccoli. Not saying that broccoli is your favorite food, but it just came to mind. Anyway, another way to see toxins, and I mentioned that last time, is to see them as disturbance, some sort of unusual noise at the concert, or interference, electronic interference, or transmitter interference at a concert. This picture I took at Ed Sheeran's concert last year. And I was imagining that if there were some sort of hooligans and they would actually suddenly start causing havoc and racket, it would be much more difficult to enjoy the music and also distinguish and see and hear the tones. So toxins are the disturbance that happens in the body when they enter, metabolic disturbance, similar to concert being disturbed by hooligans. Toxins are kind of funny. They are much more likely to settle in the body when there are deficiencies of nutrients. Number one, when the nutrient deficiency is there, the toxins have more space to kind of harbor. Toxins are funny because they thrive on the body not being as effective in eliminating them. I see the deficiencies as empty parking spots in the body, and the toxins then have plenty of area and space to park. If you have a body that is well nourished with the essential nutrients, which we endearingly call FAB4, like omegas, vitamins, minerals, and probiotics, if the body is nourished, then the toxins do not have as much space to park in quotes. The cells and the enzymatic reactions have certain spots, imagine parking spots for the particular elements or toxins. And we know that elements and toxins compete with each other. A good example is, for example, calcium and lead, or iron and mercury. They compete with each other and they can mimic each other in some of these reactions because they have usually and commonly the same electric charge. So, the other option, even though it's so remote for most of us now, is an airplane seating. If it's almost like toxins sit in a seat that is reserved for you, and it's very difficult to push the passenger that already settled in that spot. Or when airlines oversell space, the toxins are the passengers that would not get on if the flight is full of good minerals. Okay. So there's a few different ways for you to imagine what toxins do. But the most important part is that they're real and that they are proven scientifically and in research causing problems, starting with mercury, lead, DDT, thalidomide, how do you pronounce it, that drug name? Thalidomide, I think that's the drug that was used and disturbed extremity development in fetuses. So remember, 37,000 billion reactions every second. And I like to eliminate toxins by using nature. And nature is the most powerful pharmacy. It has amazing ability to help our bodies to eliminate toxins. And not only us, it's also other animals, and obviously dogs and other animals. We know that animals are seeking certain herbs. And it's so interesting to see that when dogs are going through certain disease, they're prone to eating certain herbs, or other animals too. I would like to start with artichoke, because we are talking about herbs and how we use them in healing and detox and eliminating toxins. Artichoke is basically a form of thistle. It is an immature flower. And most of the harvest is done in California, even though it does come from the Middle East. And when I was researching and doing a little bit of reading about these different herbs, when I started formulating our liver detox, I also loved looking into the mythology of different herbs. And artichoke is really cool because in the Greek mythology, artichoke is actually transformed goddess, believe it or not. What happened? Zeus visited his brother Poseidon, and he met at Poseidon's palace. He met a beautiful, beautiful girl called, or woman, and her name was Sinara. And he made her a goddess and took her to Olympus, and they lived there. But Sinara really missed her family, and she usually snuck out from time to time to visit her family. And when Zeus saw that Sinara was sneaking out of the palace, he actually got really mad and turned her into an artichoke flower and threw her out of the palace. So that's why artichoke in Latin is called Sinara. And yeah, so that's kind of an interesting one. But when it comes to the medicinal effect and medicinal function of or effect of artichoke, it is quite fascinating that it has twice as much antioxidants as blueberries. Okay, it is not blue, but it is amazingly potent when it comes to antioxidants. It can be used for nausea, irritable bowel syndrome, kidney disease, arthritis, bladder infections. All that is really, really important when it comes to using artichoke as a herbal medicine. So remember that not only you can actually give artichoke to your dog in food, cooked, but you can also give it in supplements, and it is safe. Artichoke also has a lot of fiber, and we know that fiber is good for bowel movement and digestive tract. And overall, artichoke is a really, really amazing plant and herb. There are some contraindications if you have a dog, or if you're on anticoagulants, or if you are on antibiotics. It may be a good idea to talk to your veterinarian and find out whether the antibiotic don't interfere with anticoagulant and medication like that. Dandelion is the next one. And I do have a story about dandelion as well. But before I go to the story, I'll tell you that it is an amazing tonic for liver. It is very high in inulin, which is a prebiotic for probiotic bacteria. Inulin is one of the most effective prebiotics. It is also used for...
Peter, we're getting a little bit of background noise.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on where your mic maybe is, if there's papers in the way.
That's probably paper. Those are my notes here. I wanted to make sure I don't forget anything. Anyway, thank you, Leah. So dandelion is rich in inulin, and inulin is good prebiotic or food for the probiotic bacteria. Remember that it is not just enough to get probiotics. You also have to have the right ingredients to feed the probiotic bacteria. Blueberries are another one. I personally take blueberry kind of mix or frozen blueberries that I make into a thick smoothie, and I eat it every morning. And it is also a good source of fiber and prebiotics. So anyway, the story goes about dandelion that Theseus, which was another god who was basically destined to fight Minotaur, which was part human and part bull. He actually ate dandelion for 30 days prior to the fight. And it gave him strength, and it gave him the power. In medicine, we use dandelion for heart disease, for when a dog loses appetite or a person loses appetite, for flatulence, for indigestion, for gallbladder stones, and stimulation of bile and secretion of bile. We also can use dandelion and dandelion root for muscle pain, for joint pain, for as a blood tonic, and also skin toner. So this is actually something that is very powerful, and I love dandelion. And the beautiful part is that dandelion is so strong and hardy, and it grows in so many climates. And quite often you see those herbs actually having very similar properties to what they're supposed to strengthen, right? You look at milk thistle, how strong and resilient it is, or dandelion and other plants. So milk thistle is the next one. And there is another story with milk thistle as well. Oops, I'm jumping forward, too far forward. Anyway, it obviously belongs to thistles, and this is actually, thistle is also linked to Greek mythology, and it's linked to Jupiter, which in Roman mythology is actually Zeus, the Greek god, and Jupiter or Zeus it was the omnipotent, the god that looked after everything, after the order in the world, and make sure that everyone and everything lives in peace. And I really love that, because milk thistle is known to be the top herb or remedy in herbal medicine for creating order in the body, for helping the liver to detox, creating order after the toxins enter and try to create havoc, cause havoc, like the hooligans at the concert. So Zeus or Jupiter are connected with milk thistle. And I also really love milk thistle because it's beautiful, and at the same time it's thorny, and it has the strength, right? So, it is used for situations when there's toxic liver damage. So, in any situation in today's world, milk thistle is actually a herb that we all should take from time to time. I'm going to talk about frequency, and I'm going to talk about detox. And obviously, you can either get the herbs, or you can get a supplement that will have milk thistle in it. Milk thistle is good for liver cirrhosis, whether it's due to viral disease or too much alcohol consumption or hepatitis. All that is important to know. It's also good for colitis, digestion, diabetes. It can be also used for situation where there is cancer, like prostate cancer. So remember that milk thistle is actually an amazing herb, and there are very few side effects. The active ingredient is called silymarin, and it also contains vitamin E. So remember, milk thistle is closely connected with Zeus or Jupiter, and it's the peacemaker. It's the one that instills order in the body or in the world when it came to Zeus or Jupiter. Barley grass. I love barley grass. When I left Maui a week ago, I realized that I forgot my barley grass there, and I didn't have any here until we accidentally found one little jar in the back of the fridge, and I was so thrilled this morning. I mix it with my blueberry mix when I make my little thick smoothie, and I love it because it's detox. It is very rich in minerals and vitamins. It's rich in chlorophyll, which is blood cleansing and liver cleansing. And I was also interested when I was researching barley grass, where it came from. It actually the use came from the Middle East, and it spread all over the world from there. And it's used for thousands and thousands of years. It's so cool to see that the ancient civilizations actually were quite advanced in many ways, and possibly more advanced than we are when it comes to medical use of herbs and nature. It's good for diarrhea, gastrointestinal problems, bowel conditions, Crohn's disease, but obviously also for liver cleansing. And the use goes as far back as 7,000 years BC. So it's quite incredible, isn't it, how far it goes. Barley grass is also really great for lowering blood sugar and reducing body weight. If you are looking at some other ingredients for losing weight and optimizing your weight, Dr. Michael Greger, who wrote a book, How Not to Diet, Diet, is an amazing book when it comes to dietary recommendations and suggestions. Now, he's taken all the dietary research available. He's a real nerd and a little hard to listen to, but lovely person, smart. He basically compiled all the research and kind of debunked all the different diets from keto to paleo and all those, and just kind of made it really simple. Plant-based diet with a lot of fiber, a lot of vegetables and greens, and minimizing animal protein and fats, when saturated fats and sugars. That's basically it. Really cool book, How Not to Diet. I'm sure that Michelle will probably find a link and post it for you. I don't really consider myself a nerd, but now I'm thinking maybe I am, because I love this kind of stuff. Turmeric is the next herb. And actually, it's not a herb, it's a root. And believe it or not, we actually grew about 2 buckets of turmeric in Maui. I was so thrilled because it was so easy to grow. And we dehydrated it and we have it in powder, and we brought it here, and we'll be making curries and other foods and put it in our smoothies and food. Turmeric is a root. It's very similar to ginger, and it is part of the traditional Chinese and also Vedic medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. And Ayurveda, if you look at it as a kind of core principles of the natural healing in India and the Eastern cultures, it is actually wisdom about meaning of the life. That's what the translation says. Air is meaning of life, or life meaning, and Veda is science. So it's life science, basically. So it's kind of cool. There is some interesting stuff about turmeric, beside it being incredibly good for detoxing, for liver conditions, for gastrointestinal problems. It is also used as an anti-inflammatory for joint disease, muscle pain, muscle aches. It is actually as powerful without the side effects as ibuprofen. And there is research that we have on our website, and I'm sure Michelle will find the link on LiverTune ingredients. And I have had, actually just about last week, one of my friend Catherine called me from Quebec, letting me know that her dog, who's had liver enzyme elevation for 3 years, has now normal liver enzymes after using the herbal formula that I put turmeric in as well. So it's kind of cool. Turmeric is also used traditionally in weddings, believe it or not, because it's considered to be sacred. It's considered to be auspicious, and it is used for making little necklace, which is called Mangala Sutra. And Mangala Sutra is a necklace that the groom puts on the bride, and that's a sign of the bride being very highly regarded and skilled in running the household and being the kind of leader in the household. So I really like that too. There's another really interesting effect of turmeric, and that is that it's known to be useful in treating of Helicobacter infections and stomach ulcers. If your dog has gastritis or gastric reflux or maldigestion, it can be really beneficial. It should not be given in cases where a person or dog is on anticoagulants, so just be careful about that. But otherwise, it can be used, and it's very helpful. Obviously, we all remember that turmeric, or should remember that turmeric is also good for cancer prevention. And that's one of the reasons why I put it in Soul Food, our multivitamin for dogs, because beside providing vitamins, what I wanted to do is to put also some organ protective and preventive ingredients in it. So turmeric is in Soul Food. And I'm making the noise again, I can see, I'm sure. Leah is saying, oh, yeah. Pardon me. Anyway, the next detox ingredient that I really love is broccoli sprouts. And broccoli sprouts are great for boosting metabolism. They have very strong enzymatic activity. They are good for preventing anemia and prevent nerve damage, improves vision because it has such high volumes of vitamins and amounts of vitamins. And it also is good for immune function. So remember that broccoli sprouts are super important, and that's why I love them and put them in some of the formulas that I make. Cilantro is really cool. Cilantro is, or coriander. In Europe, you will not find cilantro, you will find coriander. Is used for millennia as well. It has been found in some of the tombs in Egypt, figuring out that most likely it was used there and used medicinally. So that's kind of cool that some of the tombs contain actually herbs, medicinal herbs. Obviously, the ancient civilization thought that if they put the herbs in a tomb, that somehow it'll help the spirit of the deceased. So it's kind of cool. And the last herb that I'd like to talk to you about is ashwagandha. And ashwagandha is also called or perceived to be an Indian ginseng. And it is an adaptogen. An adaptogen is a group of herbs or medicinal food that is beneficial for reducing stress and increasing resistance to stress. It has been found very beneficial when it comes to detox. If you have a dog that is anxious, that is upset, or even angry, it is a very good herb to use. It has wide-ranging health benefits, and it is used in Vedic medicine as well. When it comes to the medical conditions, arthritis, anxiety, tumors, hypothyroidism, and chronic liver disease are some of the conditions that it can be used for. And it's also used for patients after chemotherapy because it's, again, reducing the effect of chemotherapy. So those are the main herbs that I wanted to talk to you about. And I would like to just kind of give you a little bit of a summary. Those are the ones that we talked about today. And, detox is a process where basically you try to push out the toxins. And the toxins can be pushed out by two different steps. One of them is to cleanse, meaning eliminating the toxins by using the herbs, but also using the beneficial minerals and essential minerals because they compete with the toxins and also improve the enzymatic capacity of the body and the liver to eliminate toxins. So cleanse is relatively easy. It's like, nature applies cleanse in so many ways, whether it's waves in the ocean and oxygenation, or whether it rolls water over the rocks and oxygenates when the river flows down to the ocean. Rain is a cleansing substance, enzymatic processes, bacteria, and obviously in animals, food and healing food. The best medicine is food. I always say that. And I've seen that in my own experience. When I was a teenager, I suffered with allergies to the point where I could not, and hay fever, I could not breathe through the nose for 6 months out of the year. And every time I see someone complaining about allergies, I so would love them to adopt these simple steps that I've taken, which is detox, then providing the essential nutrients, reducing the allergens like milk and sometimes wheat and grains, not always, depending on how you do, and not eating processed food and preserved food, chemically preserved food and processed food. And it's as simple as that. But what is really key and crucial is actually discipline. Because my sister who lives in the Czech Republic, I love her dearly, and she suffers with allergies. But every time I say, you may want to cut back on dairy and cheese, she kind of looks at me like I took her children away. So it's not easy sometimes with us trying to help because people take offense. And so this is a better way to go, that I just kind of put it out there, and then whoever wants to take it, and whoever wants to leave it, leaves it. you may have noticed that there are two products that are part of the cleansing cycle in our kind of detox protocol. Michelle will post some information about the cleansing protocols and articles. And there's also one more thing that I wanted to talk to you, and that's fermentation, because fermentation is becoming the holy grail of any supplement or herbal medicine production. And the reason is that it actually increases the content of polyphenols, which are antioxidants and antibacterial and antivirus effect compounds or components. They also stimulate the immune system. Fermentation is also scientifically proven to increase GABA, which is antioxidant as well, antihypertensive and antibacterial, and has anti-allergy effect as well. And it also reduces the inflammatory mediators. So, when you want to reduce inflammation in your body or your dog's body, especially if you have middle-aged or senior dog, fermented products will also help you that. So I've been, fermentation is not as easy as putting all herbs together, mix them up in a powder, but it definitely is more effective. And I find that that when it comes to the results that I've seen, they definitely vary. Now I'm just seeing that I lost my mouse. Oh, now I'm back. I stopped sharing. Anyway, I am open to questions today. If you have any questions about what I just said and mentioned, please ask away. And I know that Leah is already going through the questions here.
Yes, we've got quite a few coming in already. First off, Anna is asking, can you give too much pre or probiotic?
Well, I think that it would be very, very hard, because you'd have to really feeding it by tablespoons and cups. And I don't think that you have the budget for eating $1,000 of probiotics and prebiotics every day or every month. So I don't think so. It's, this is one of those situations where you cannot really cause damage. It's impossible. I've never seen it happen.
And what about fiber? Catherine is asking if a dog can get too much fiber.
I think that a dog is a smart being, and dog will probably not eat diet where there's too much fiber. I would not feed something like metapenisil, but when you feed vegetables and grass and greens, I don't think so. I don't think that your dog can get too much fiber, and he or she will regulate himself or herself too.
And Catherine's follow-up question, she's asking, how long would a detox take to help a dog get back to a normal state in general? And are there any dangers of detoxing?
I mentioned some of the contraindications with dogs on anticoagulants, or sometimes when you have a dog with large gallbladder stones, it can actually try to push the gallbladder stones through the ducts, and it can cause problems. But clinically, I have not really seen that. They say that can happen, but I haven't seen it. I usually do a cleanse for 4 weeks twice a year, every 6 months. And Pax and I are actually just due for another detox or cleanse. So we'll be doing that together. It's always easy to do it together with your dog. I do use the Livertune, which is our canine certified organic liver cleanse product. It is made in human certified facility, and basically the herbs for a human cleanse and canine cleanse are the same. It is off-label use to use it for humans, so I can't really recommend it officially, but it is made in human certified organic facility. So it's the top human ingredients. Plus, we also test on humans. Every single product that I've made and ever formulated, I start testing the ingredients first on me, then on my family and friends, and then on dogs. So we kind of reverse the testing on animal, testing on humans. We are actually making some progress in testing some ingredients for senior dogs and mobility. It's still not ready to launch, but I'm really excited and hoping that it's going to go fast. So that's something to also mention.
All right, we have a lot of questions coming in, which is great to see. Alessi is asking, I would like to try liver tune. However, will it make conditions worse before it begins to make the dog's condition better?
I have not seen that happening. I know what you mean by aggravation. Sometimes when there is healing process is actually an interesting one. When I took homeopathy classes, and I worked with homeopathy a lot over the years, sometimes there is an aggravation, meaning that there can be diarrhea or skin eruptions or vomiting or something like that. We have not seen that with the herbal cleanses, especially with the fermented products, because they seem to be really gentle. I did have, and this is not regarding liver tune, but I've been just testing some of the ingredients for senior mobility products or supplements. And for about a month, I basically went through the whole scale of inflammation anywhere in the body where I ever injured. And it was really interesting because first I had my knee, and then I had my shoulder, and then my neck and my back. And it all kind of went in a really fast sequence. But now 2 months into testing some of these ingredients, I feel great. And I'm actually having a hard time to believe that that's possible. So I would say even if there is small or slight aggravation, maybe step back, maybe reduce the dose by half or 2/3 and start again, because really the body heals through the kind of aggravatory inflammatory process sometimes that then goes back. You have two choices in healing. You either heal what needs to be healed by the body's mechanisms or biochemistry and healing processes, or you will suppress it by drugs and you'll pay for it later. In homeopathy, we learned that when we drive imbalances or disease inside by the drugs, when you suppress them, it usually causes more serious problems. That's why teenagers have actually skin disease and skin eruptions, and you very rarely see them in older people. Skin eruptions are considered unsightly, but they're actually quite benign when it comes to damage to the body. And when we drive them back in the body by steroids or medication, then there's usually another deeper problem. We actually call this kind of centrifugal movement of healing in nature Herring's law of cure. In homeopathy, that's how it's called, because you should see the more serious problems disappear, and the less serious problems possibly appear for a very short time and then dissipate. The same way I felt it when I went through the kind of inflammatory cascade in testing my mobility support and supplements.
Right, Muda and Taylor have a very similar question. They're asking if a normal side effect to detoxing could be a dark pink color to the skin or a more pinky color to the skin.
Dark pink or more pinky, I've seen the kind of like the pigmentation of skin. It almost looks like it's pink underneath, and then there's like a little bit of black surface. I usually see it as a sign of the metabolism not being completely efficient and effective. I would do detox. I would provide the Fabulous 4 or any other essentials that you use. I would try to figure out whether there is any heavy metals or toxins by running hair tests. Those are the 3 main kind of steps that I would take. Pinkish skin can be for some time, but if it lasts more than a week or 2, I would say that it's probably something that is not really resolving. Sometimes pinkish skin can be a result of inflammation on the skin and underlying muscles. Sometimes dogs chew or lick, and they can create irritation. I'd have to see I'd have to see pictures. I'd have to know more about this condition. But when it comes to blackening, I sometimes see it in dogs on corticosteroids, or dogs that would have adrenal stress or adrenal hormone elevation, or if there's medication applied to the skin in that area, that's common too.
And Melina is asking, what kind of water is the best for dogs to drink?
Such a cool question. I was actually planning to talk about water when I started today, and then for some reason I forgot. I like filtered water that does not have chlorine. I do not like reverse osmosis, which is basically demineralize and then remineralize water, because it is not as balanced. And I notice when I drink reverse osmosis water that I actually drink more and I pee more, which is a sign that there is actually probably lack of electrolytes in the water. Definitely not distilled water, which in medicine, when I went to vet school, was considered toxic. And I sometimes see articles and references to distilled water being used for cleansing and for health benefits. Definitely not a good idea, because it's hypotonic, meaning that if you drink it, it has no minerals, and it will virtually suck the minerals out of the body to increase the osmotic balance. So it's considered to be toxic. If you drink only um, distilled water, you can actually die. Or if you give your dog distilled water, after some time, you will deteriorate and you will have severe side effects.
Both Jamie and Veronica are asking about milk thistle and asking if it's okay to use all the time or low dose all the time.
I can only tell you how I feel about it. I think that even nature's pharmacy must be used carefully and wisely. I like to keep the medicinal herbs as medicine. Let's say once every 6 months cleanse, perfect. But using it on an ongoing basis is not recommended unless your dog has liver disease or some sort of other conditions that indicate it. I would have certain patients on liver support for their lifetime, for years, and I would not see any obvious side effects. But I do like to keep the herbs for the medical situations, or some sort of medicinal effect like the cleanse once in a while. But as I said, if you do have a dog that has liver disease, you basically give it until the liver enzymes are back to normal. And there are some situations when they will not go back to normal completely. It's okay to give the herbs, including milk thistle, on an ongoing basis.
All right, Veronica was also asking about the ingredients in the Fab4 products. That are those enough to give our dogs, or could we be adding more into the daily food regimen as well?
I was just thinking about it today when my mind went back to the mobility support and senior support and adaptogens and all we could actually use. And I say this much: if you have a healthy dog, and if you have a dog that is young or middle-aged, I think that the Fab4 are enough, and that's what I've been giving. That's what I've been taking. I do think that when it comes to senior dogs, we're kind of moving in the area of anti-aging research, not only in humans, but also in dogs. Inflammation, mobility, joints, and that's something that we do need to address. And I'm planning to address it. I'm really hopeful that there's going to be some real profound shift in how we address these, but I can't really give you more information because it's not solid yet. So I can only tell you that, and I'm sure that Leah probably can tell you a little bit how much I've been excited about some of the results. So to answer your question, mobility support or anti-aging support for older dogs will be indicated. And if there is, let's say, kidney disease, glandular supplements, or if there are other medical conditions, see them more as medicinal versus the Fab4 being the essentials that are nutritional. If our dogs lived in the savannah in Africa in a perfectly harmonized and balanced environment, they probably would not need to get any supplements. But because our food, including meat and vegetables, is produced on depleted soils, I'm seeing the deficiencies taking toll on our body and our dog's body. And the best kind of compliment I can ever get is when people send us testimonials about their dogs, but also the fact that pretty much my whole family and many of my friends are taking Fabulous for dogs. And it is not easy to convince your family to take anything. And they kind of did it on their own because they started to see the difference. So it's fun. It's fun. I know that I could be just kind of talking about negativity in pet food industry or kibble or how damaging drugs are. But if I don't give you tools, if I don't give you tools that I'm actually willing to take or give my dog, then I think I'm doing only half job. So that's why I've become a passionate formulator and really kind of take it to the next level. It's really like creating a really fun recipe that makes a difference. Yeah, but I don't like to blow my own horn. You go and read the testimonials, reviews, and maybe try it if you wish. But it's one of the hard parts for me to go to. I think it's disservice if I don't say what I've experienced with some of the supplements, but I also am having a hard time to kind of like just go and be pushy about it. So I try to kind of give you the information and tell you the whys more likely than just kind of say you have to take this or you have to give this to your dog.
And yes, that passion definitely comes through, Peter, and I can definitely tell the community of just how much excitement there has been on some of the results that Peter is seeing with what he's formulating right now. So stay tuned in the community, and we'll have more as soon as we can share it.
Unknowingly excited, I would say sometimes. Don't shut up.
A follow-up question about the water. Shawnee is asking, is boiled water considered distilled water?
Boiled water is not considered distilled water because the minerals actually, try to evaporate salty water, right? The minerals will stay in the pot. So it's not distilled water, but it will actually eliminate chlorine. So if you don't have filter in your water system, or if you travel, it is actually a good idea to boil the kettle, let the water cool, and then give it to your dog, then giving it chlorinated water. Most people actually don't think of chlorinated water as big of a problem as it is, because it actually destroys your microflora, intestinal flora. It destroys the pathogenic bacteria, but it also destroys the good bacteria. It totally disrupts the gut.
Melina is asking, what about fasting as a method for detoxing?
Fasting, awesome question. Again, I should add it to my talk today, and thank you. Fasting is actually very beneficial. I'm a big proponent of feeding dogs once a day as opposed to twice a day. I'm a big proponent of humans fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting, where you reduce the number of hours you eat during the day, or you fast once a week or several days a month. It definitely does help. But when you fast and the body activates some of the enzymatic pathways, it is good to provide the nutrients, the essential nutrients, to kind of fill in for the detoxed parking spots, if it makes sense from what I said today. I do intermittent fasting. I started fairly recently, about 2 months ago, on the basis of reading one book, which is called Lifespan by Dr. Spencer. No, sorry, Sinclair, David Sinclair, not Spencer, David Sinclair. And he's a Harvard scientist, and he promotes intermittent fasting. What I noticed is that it makes me super hungry, but my body's kind of like, I feel much better. I feel less burdened by the digestion. I know that fasting does activate sirtuins, which are anti-aging enzymes, DNA repair enzymes. So all that is beneficial. If you do feed your dog twice a day, 3 times a day, try to skip one meal in the morning. Try to make it smaller until it disappears. Your dog is not going to die. And I tell you honestly, you get used to it. I don't get hungry until around 10 or 11. And my team knows now that I actually usually have breakfast and meetings. But I get super hungry then. But it is, I really like it. I really do like it. And scientifically, it's not just my claim, but research proves that it's actually beneficial.
I know I sure saw a difference in Maggie after changing her from 2 meals a day to the 1 meal a day. She has a lot more energy for sure.
It's hard for us, right? There's the emotional connection that we have with food, and maybe we all have Italian or Jewish genes or something
And
like that.
treats.
Feed, feed, eat, Czech genes too. Oh my God. Uh, but yeah, it's definitely beneficial. We also have a term for people who are incapable of not feeding or not fasting their dogs. We call it monkey love, because monkey love is a term that was invented by my father. When we were kids, our grandma would substitute vegetables with candies if we didn't eat, because she actually thought it was good for us. So when my father discovered it, he had a conversation with my grandma and said that love like that is monkey love. It's not good for us, and so the love that is not good for us is actually monkey love. So be careful of monkey love, because it comes in many different forms, and it comes in the family. Usually when I see an overweight dog, uh, I know that if it's not the guardian, it may be the grandpa or grandma or the uncle or the neighbor who are feeding the dog, right? So it just, there's always someone sneaking something in.
Yeah. A follow-up question on the fasting. How should it be done for dogs? Like, is it the same for young dogs, senior dogs, any age?
Very good question. I would not be fasting dogs before 1 year of age, or not feeding once a day. I usually start feeding. Pax is actually in the transitional period where we just started giving him only small amounts of food. So until 1 year, I recommend feeding 3 meals until 5 or 6 months of age, and then 2 meals until 1 year, and then one meal. And if you wish, if you want to take it one step further, you can actually skip 1 day feeding. Dogs are able to fast for 7 days easily. It's not a problem. And again, it is proven to be supporting longevity when we fast. And that's what we want with our dogs. That's why we're sitting here. That's why we're learning.
And do you have a preference of the time of day for that one meal?
Definitely not before exercise. So that kind of speaks more for the evening. Early evening is probably preferable. If your dog is a hot dog, meaning easily overheats, then I would recommend feeding right after the afternoon walk, but not too late, because then dogs usually, if they fed too late and they overheat, they usually pant around 1 to 3 o'clock a.m., which is sign of toxicity, sign of liver overburden. I know that if you have a dog like that and you start using some of the medicinal herbs in a supplement or in food, that your dog should do better. But food, I say, if you can either feed after the morning dog walk, if you give your dog at least 3 hour break before the next exercise, because we don't want to take a chance that there's going to be stomach bloat, or the stomach will twist because it's full and your dog will start jumping and running outside. There is a slight tendency to bloat. But when it comes to bloats, touch wood, I have not seen them in dogs with on raw or homemade diet. It's a kibble disease. A kibble disease because dogs that eat kibble, they have very weak stomachs, because those stomachs don't need to grind and digest bones and meat, right? So the muscular layer is very weak, and that's how bloat happens. At least that's what I think, because I haven't seen it in practice in dogs on raw food. I listened to an audiobook yesterday, and it's actually a medically unrelated book. But the person said, I don't do as much clinical research. I do practical research. I source information from my practice of 30 years. And I think this is so beautiful, because when you start seeing something work, I think that we discount, we overestimate double-blinded studies that are withdrawn from reality, and underestimate clinical practice and experience, which in the past, especially in the ancient medicine and traditional medicine, is very valid. And I've seen that over and over, that it would be very difficult to sometimes run double-blinded studies. And if I see that something works really well, beautifully well, why would I actually waste time to actually do clinical study when I already see, for example, that raw food is so much better for dogs than kibble, and that no doctors actually in human medicine recommend processed food. and veterinary medicine still recommends processed food, it makes zero sense. I don't really need to do double-blinded study and spend 2 years of my valuable life or someone else's life to do these studies, right? And waste paper and computer power and resources. We should move beyond these nonsensical needs to confirm something that is self-evident and makes complete sense.
That is absolutely so true. We've got 1 more minute till we're at top of the hour. So I've got one last question that we'll ask, and we'll make sure we get Michelle and the team on all the other questions that have come in. We've had a lot of engagement and a lot of good questions. This last one is about dandelion, and they are asking if, it's Denise asking if dandelion is also good for kidney disease, not just liver and detox.
It is. And also asparagus is good for kidney disease, absolutely. You know, the indications, like I kind of avoided to list all the medicinal effects of the different herbs, but what you can do, you can actually go to Livertune and the ingredients list, and the medicinal effect is there, and also contraindications if you're wondering and worried about that. The contraindication list is very small. We have had really good results. You know, when you look at drugs and see the side effects, and you see herbs and see the lack of side effects, it's really fantastic. At the same time, I get kind of frustrated because there's so many drugs on the market that are allowed, and then there are so many obstacles put in front of herbal medicines or some sort of plant-based healing. One of the examples is not actually liver tune, because that's that we haven't had a problem with that to have it approved as a veterinary health product. But our flea hex flea product, natural flea products, we cannot use it in Canada because it does have now I have a complete blank. The main ingredient.
It's, yeah, the approval for flea hex is because they're considering it a pesticide.
Lisa, please help me.
Yeah, then it's, I think you're thinking of the neem oil?
Neem oil, yes, yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. That's so funny. Anyway, yeah, so neem oil is not approved as an ingredient in Canada. That's why we cannot sell flea product that has not had any fatalities or any reportable side effects. And the flea products that are sold on the market all killed some dogs, right? So you can see that it's sometimes more about lobbyists and how the laws are created. And we know that we would have to spend about $200,000 with no guarantees on the flea product being approved or not. And we are a small company, so we cannot really do it in Canada. But it frustrates the hell out of me sometimes to see how broken the system is and how weird it is. We just have to get around it and try to vote for the politicians who actually will not be as susceptible to lobbying by drug companies and other dark forces. Drug companies are not always dark, of course. They have a place in our life. I don't want to make it sound like they do, but we know that they're not always acting for the best benefit of the patient, and they're more likely to act on behalf of the shareholders and their value and their stock and all that. So the world is not all positive, as we know, but I try to see it as hopeful. Anyway, thank you so much, Aliyah, for helping with the questions. And Michelle, thank you so much for posting the links. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be here again next Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. And I still don't know what the topic will be, so it'll be a surprise. But keep an eye on our Facebook and Instagram, and please try to follow us on Instagram, because we are almost close to 10,000 people, and we'd like to share some links, and we won't be able to do that if we don't have 10,000. And on Facebook, we are doing much better. So I think that's going fairly well. And we are now present on Pinterest, which has some other information, and obviously a newsletter. It is the insider news and knowledge about what's going on. And I'd love you to join if you can. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening or afternoon. Bye-bye.